what Michelangelo painted on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. This is why 30,000 people are getting here. Right in the middle, the famous creation of Adam. Here you see that figure. This artwork is so popular all over the world. Michelangelo had the ability to capture the moment of the creation, not the moment before, neither the moment after, but he got to show the work in progress. Wasn't easy. Michelangelo painted the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel in the year 1508. So I think we can stay here a little bit longer. So 1508, look what he did. Got the father, Adam, in between the two fingers. Michelangelo left a little gap. You'll see that the fingers are separated. That was the trick that helped Michelangelo to capture the moment of creation. Adam looks so relaxed because what the father hasn't touched yet. So he's the only one who can life. So what Michelangelo painted in here is the human body with the muscle and the skin, but there's no life. Life will live in still, it will be given only when the finger of the Holy Lord will finally touch him. And he hasn't touched him yet. So he's almost ready, but he's not totally ready. So the ability was to show the work in progress of the creation. Michelangelo was the one who painted the private chapel of the Pope. The basilica with the huge dome that was built for the population, for the common people. This is the private place of prayer of Pope Francis. So now Francis is inviting you to share the beauty, okay? So once in there, be focused on the creation. I want to tell you something more about what we do under the shade. And look at this other picture. 20 years after the ceiling, Michelangelo was back again into the Sistine Chapel to paint this wall. This is another Michelangelo's artwork. Last Judgment. 300 pictures are in there. Look in the middle, Jesus and his mother Mary. In our religion, we believe that Christ will come for the judge. The good ones are going to be alive again in the heaven, the bad ones down here. You see in this corner, the fire. Little curiosity. Look at this guy with the serpent. I'm going to tell you a story about this guy, okay? Memorize. And look up here in the heaven. You see this guy with the skin in his hands? I'm going to tell you who is this guy. Yeah? Have a look at the photo and we move on to the shade. So make sure you see the guy with the skin and the guy is the private chapel of the Pope. This building right here is the ancient palace of the Pope, built in the 1500s. In here, there was the dining room, bedroom, the office, and the private place of prayer of the Pope. The palace was opened to the tourists as a museum 200 years later, in the 70s. That's when the popes became aware that in here they own beautiful artworks and they want to share. But the chapel is inside the ancient palace of the Pope. So it was in use by the popes and is still in use by the popes for prayers. That's why I need to make you being prepared for Michelangelo's paintings before getting in there. In here we need to keep the silence and just look at the real thing. Plus the chapel is famous because it's there that they're doing the conclave. What's the conclave? Election of the Pope. When the Pope dies, the cardinals are meeting into the chapel, into that beautiful place that they're dealing about the new Pope, and the common people are waiting outside in St. Peter's Square, wondering what are they doing in there. They're waiting to see the smoke. Do you know the story? Black smoke, no decision, white smoke, they made it. So, let's talk better about Michelangelo, okay? And once in there, we'll keep the silence. So the chapel was built in the year 1483, painted by a good team of painters, but not Michelangelo's yet. So when you will be getting into the chapel, left side you're gonna see a sequence of stories of Moses, the Old Testament. Opposite side wall, stories of Jesus, the New Testament. Each story painted by different artists. Botticelli, Ghirlandaio, he was the teacher of Michelangelo. Perugino, Cosimo Rosselli, the greatest. Michelangelo was getting in there later, 20 years later. So, built in the year 1483, 1508 is when he painted the ceiling, okay? But he didn't touch the side walls. That's worth it. So, we can make a comparison between the artist for Michelangelo and what the genius made 20 years later. The picture on the ceiling that you see, the board in the middle is the ceiling, are all flat painted. The main innovation done by Michelangelo was the use of the perspective. You're going to feel that right up there are architectures like columns. It's all fakes. It's totally flat and painted. But without Google, that was the first time a painter was using that technique. The ceiling is very high, 20 meters high, 60 feet. And it wasn't easy to be painted because it's an arch, it's curved, it's a barrel vault. Imagine this guy all alone with a brush and a candlelight. 4 long years was a challenge. And he was not a real painter. He didn't like being a painter. Later, I'll give you the access to the church, and then you will be walking around the church by yourself. In the basilica, you're going to see La Pietà. Is a marble statue made by Michelangelo when he was only 23 years old. He loved being a sculptor. He didn't like being a painter. He was forced by the Pope to do the ceiling. He tried and he made it. So we said that he was alone. He wasn't a real painter. The creation of Adam, the subject wasn't easy. The perspective, he made it. Mamma mia. And 20 years later, as the Pope enjoyed the ceiling so much, he called him again to paint the final judge, the blue picture that I showed you. Okay, 5 years, 300 pictures in a twisting poses like bodybuilder. In there, he learned the technique. He was doing this section to learn how he looked like. Remember, I showed you the guy through the hell with the serpent. Mamma mia. There are a lot of stories about the chapel, but Michelangelo didn't left any comments. So what you find on the web are stories. You can buy 1,000 books about Michelangelo. Careful, because most of them are hypotheses. Okay, few stories have been proved. We know the story about the guy through the hell. Maybe you can still see him from here. If you want to go, it's on the sun. That's why I'm not taking you there. But later you'll see the real thing. There was a reason why that guy is through the hell. That is a cardinal, top rank of priest. They're supposed to be next to Mary and Jesus in the heaven. Michelangelo didn't like him. While he was painting that wall, that cardinal complained a lot with him. He didn't like him, he sent him through the hell. Mamma mia. And he gave him a terrible torture. You're going to see the serpent biting his testicles. Gentlemen, don't deal with Michelangelo, Mamma mia. The guy complained, but I agree with him. There was a reason why he complained a lot. Michelangelo was painting the whole 300 figures around Mary and Jesus naked. They were totally undressed. Can you believe what a scandal is that? I just told you that's the private chapel of the Pope. Once in there, you need to keep the shoulder covered. Don't look too sexy. It's the private chapel of the Pope. Mamma mia. Michelangelo painted 300 nudes in there. He said, "We were born naked. We will be naked again. That's the day of the judge. Game's over." 1 month after the death of Michelangelo, they called another painter, whose name was Daniel. He added the clothes and the underwear. So all the clothes and the underwear were added. These are the saints, the martyrs. This is San Bartolomeo. Bartolomeo had a cruel death, persecuted because he was Christian. The Roman didn't like the Christians and badly persecuted. Bartolomeo was unskinned, flayed skin alive. But I care so much that when you get in the chapel, guys, you're going to be focused on the skin face right here. The skin face is the self-portrait of Michelangelo. He painted his face up here. Why? That's a $1 million question. Why? we assume that that can be considered the signature of Michelangelo. In that century, the artists were not allowed to put their names in here in the corner like we do nowadays. It was forbidden by the Catholic Church. It was like, who cares who made it? We don't care. We only want to be focused on the holy story. And Michelangelo found this way to tell us, I'm the one who made it. Got it?
Yeah.
Do you have any question about the chapel now? In there I cannot talk. We're going to keep the silence and then you're going to see the real thing. No, I've been talking too much. Allora, it depends how crowded, how fast, but usually I stay there for like 15 minutes, okay? That's the main goal of the tour, okay? I see that some of you are making videos. Please, I'm very shy. Although I'm talking to a crowd every day, don't put it on YouTube, okay? Just personal purpose. I don't like being a rock star on the web, okay? Bene, are we ready to go?
Yeah.
Yes. Allora.